Introduction. Emotions are an integral part of the human experience. They influence our thoughts, behaviors, and ultimately, our lives. In contemporary society, emotions are often categorized as good or bad, leading to a fundamental misunderstanding of their nature. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy founded in Athens, offers profound insights into how we can approach emotions. Central to Stoic thought is the belief that while we cannot control our feelings, we can control our reactions to them. This lesson aims to explore the Stoic perspective on emotions, emphasizing their neutral nature and the significance of our responses. 1. Understanding emotions in Stoicism. The journey of understanding emotions within the framework of Stoicism begins with grasping its fundamental premise, the dichotomy of control. Stoicism, an ancient Greek philosophy, encourages us to differentiate between what we can control and what is beyond our influence. When applying this principle to emotions, we recognize that our feelings are often reactions to external stimuli, and our interpretations or judgments about those stimuli. This insight transforms our relationship with our emotional experiences, allowing us to respond rather than react impulsively. The nature of emotions. At the heart of Stoic thought lies the idea that emotions stem from our beliefs and perceptions, not from the events themselves. Picture emotions as waves in the ocean. They rise and fall, influenced by the winds and currents but not defined by them. Emotions aren't inherently good or bad. They are natural, human responses that arise from our worldview. Stoic philosophers, including Epictetus and Seneca, argued that distinguishing between rational and irrational emotions is vital for cultivating a balanced emotional life. Let's delve into the concept of emotions using two very relatable scenarios. Imagine you just received news that your project at work got selected for promotion at a big meeting. The excitement you feel is a rational response rooted in the affirmation of your efforts. You recognize that your hard work is resulting in positive outcomes, establishing a sense of joy and satisfaction. Now, flip the coin. Consider this. You're driving home from work and someone cuts you off, leading to a surge of anger. This anger is a natural emotional response, but it can become irrational if we perceive it as a personal affront. The Stoics would invite us to examine that rush of anger, questioning what has triggered it. Was it really that someone cut you off, or is it more about feeling out of control in your life? By recognizing that emotions often arise from our interpretations of events, rather than from the events themselves, we empower ourselves to engage with those feelings more deliberately. By doing so, we find freedom in recognizing that just because we feel a certain way doesn't mean we have to act on it. We can pause, reflect, and decide on the best way to handle the situation without being swept away by emotional currents. The Stoic view of emotions. In Stoic philosophy, emotions are categorized into two distinct types, rational and irrational. Rational emotions, referred to as eudaimonia, are those that align with virtue and rational thought. They arise from recognizing objective truths, such as acknowledging our hard work leading to recognition. These emotions contribute positively to our well-being and help us cultivate resilience. Conversely, irrational emotions, often called passions, are rooted in misguided beliefs and perceptions. For instance, experiencing jealousy can lead to negative behaviors that damage relationships or cause personal strife. Let's say you find yourself feeling envious of a colleague's recent promotion. Instead of merely accepting this envy as a given, Stoicism prompts you to reflect on its origins. Is this feeling based on a valid assessment of your colleague's abilities, or is it stemming from insecurities about your own career progress? The Stoics stressed the importance of transforming irrational emotions into rational ones. By becoming aware of our thoughts, we can mitigate the grip of irrational passions on our lives. When we cultivate a mindset grounded in rationality, we empower ourselves to respond with steady purpose rather than acting out of fear, anger, or jealousy. The Dichotomy of Control. A central pillar of Stoic thought is the dichotomy of control, which becomes especially relevant when considering emotions. This principle reminds us that we are accountable solely for our thoughts, intentions, and reactions, while external events, including emotional triggers, lie outside our control. Everything from someone's comment to an unforeseen circumstance can potentially provoke emotional responses, but our reaction to these events is where our true power lies. For example, imagine you are at work and receive constructive feedback on a project you poured your heart into. You could respond with defensiveness, stressing about the implication of the feedback, or you can accept the comments, reflecting on how they can help you grow. It's vital to recognize that while you can't control the feedback itself, you can control how you choose to interpret it and consequently react to it. Stoics argued that suffering does not arise from the emotions themselves, but from our interpretations of those emotions. Thus, when faced with discomfort or distress, we can learn to step back and evaluate the situation objectively. Doing this allows us to transform a potentially negative emotional response into an opportunity for self-improvement and growth. 2. Identifying your emotions. Having laid the groundwork for understanding how Stoics view emotions, it's time to explore practical strategies for identifying and managing these feelings more effectively. To navigate our emotional landscape, we must develop awareness of our emotions, how they manifest, and how to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. The practice of mindfulness. First up is mindfulness. This powerful practice plays an essential role in enhancing our self-awareness. Mindfulness invites us to become fully present in the moment, fostering an awareness of our thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations. By developing this awareness, we can begin to identify our emotional states without judgment. Picture this scenario. You're in a stressful meeting and suddenly, a wave of anxiety washes over you. Instead of succumbing to that anxiety and letting it take control, mindfulness encourages you to observe it without harsh self-judgment. You might notice your heart is racing, your palms are sweaty, or your mind is racing with thoughts. By acknowledging these feelings as they arise, you create space between the feeling and your reaction to it. This awareness is crucial because it allows you to step back and ask yourself empowering questions. What is causing this anxiety? Is it the pressure of delivering a presentation, or is it something deeper? You can dive deeper into your thoughts and feelings, gaining insight into their origins and learning how to address them constructively. Mindfulness isn't an instant fix, but over time, it builds the ability to observe your emotions and create a space for thoughtful responses. Rather than being swept away by emotions, you become the observer, allowing you to manage your reactions consciously. Journaling. Another effective method for developing emotional awareness is journaling. This practice offers a dedicated space for self-reflection and exploration. When you write down your thoughts and feelings, you can gain invaluable insights into the underlying beliefs and patterns driving those emotions. Imagine you've had a frustrating day at work. Instead of bottling up all that stress, you take a few minutes at the end of the day to scribble down your thoughts. You might write, "Today was really tough. I felt overwhelmed during the meeting, and I got frustrated with my coworkers." This simple act of writing creates space for reflection. Journaling allows you to delve deeper into your emotional experiences. You can follow up with questions like, what specific events triggered my feelings? Was I feeling anxious because I feared judgment? Or was it due to genuine concerns about the project's success? By bringing awareness to your emotions through writing, you can uncover insights that pave the way for growth. Moreover, keeping a journal means you can track your emotional journey over time. You might notice patterns in your emotional responses, helping you understand what triggers certain feelings and how you can better manage them. This ongoing practice fosters greater emotional intelligence, enhancing your ability to engage with your emotions deliberately. Emotional check-ins. Regular, emotional check-ins are another fantastic way to bolster self-awareness. These brief moments throughout your day serve as opportunities to pause and assess how you're feeling. By setting aside dedicated time to check in with yourself, whether in the morning, at midday, or before bed, you can develop a clearer understanding of your emotional state. Consider this. You might wake up feeling great, but as the day unfolds, you encounter stressors that change your mood. Regular emotional check-ins invite you to reflect on these shifts, enabling you to assess why you're feeling a certain way. You could ask yourself questions like, how did I feel this morning? What happened during the day that impacted my emotions? What can I do to nurture myself through any discomfort? These moments of self-inquiry allow you to identify and respond to emotions in real time. Instead of waiting until a feeling overwhelms you, a typical anxiety-driven reaction, you cultivate an awareness that helps you catch those feelings before they spiral. The more you engage in these check-ins, the better you become at identifying and managing your emotional responses. The importance of community and support. Recognizing that emotions are universal experiences also invites us to lean on our communities for support. Engaging with friends, family, or trusted colleagues can help us put our feelings into perspective. Talking through your emotions with someone who listens can unveil additional insights that elevate your understanding and acceptance of those feelings. When you share your emotional experiences, you realize you're not alone, which often provides comfort. Imagine you share with a friend, "I'm feeling really down about my job right now." When your friend responds with understanding, it validates your experience and creates space for discussion about how to navigate those feelings. You may even find new strategies for coping with these emotions that you hadn't considered on your own. Incorporating community connections into the journey of emotional awareness broadens your perspective and presents an additional layer of support that enriches your emotional intelligence. Practicing self-compassion. In the pursuit of understanding and navigating emotions, it's crucial to adopt a mindset of self-compassion. The Stoics emphasized acceptance of human flaws and vulnerabilities. This acceptance extends to our emotions. Self-compassion means acknowledging your feelings without judgment and permitting yourself to experience the emotional spectrum without criticism. For example, let's say you're grappling with feelings of inadequacy. Instead of berating yourself for feeling this way, practice self-talk that fosters compassion. It's okay to feel this way. Everyone experiences moments of doubt. By communicating with yourself in this gentle, understanding manner, you create an emotional environment where you can process feelings instead of suppressing or rejecting them. Self-compassion empowers you to approach your emotions with kindness and curiosity, allowing room for growth. It cultivates resilience by teaching you that encountering challenging emotions is a part of life, not a signal of failure or inadequacy. 3. The reactive nature of emotions. Emotions, by their very nature, are automatic responses to situations. Yet Stoicism emphasizes that we have the agency to regulate these reactions. Understanding how our emotions operate can lead us to greater emotional resilience and informed decision-making. Let's explore how these automatic responses function, the concept of premeditation of evils, and how we can consciously reshape our responses. Automatic responses. We all experience instances where emotions arise almost instantaneously, a sudden pang of jealousy, a spike in anger, or a wave of anxiety. These automatic responses are deeply rooted in our psychological makeup. They are not wrong. They simply highlight our human capacity to feel and react to external stimuli. However, Stoicism teaches us that while we can't always control our initial emotional reactions, we can control how we respond to them. When something triggers a strong emotional response, our instinct might be to act impulsively. For instance, you might receive criticism from a colleague and feel a rush of defensiveness. Instead of immediately firing back with an emotional retort, the Stoic approach is to create some distance. Recognize the emotional surge and pause for a moment. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Is it because of the feedback, or is there another layer of insecurity lurking beneath? This practice goes back to the earlier concepts of mindfulness and self-awareness. By slowing down and evaluating the automatic response, you gain clarity and have the opportunity to choose a more reasoned, constructive reaction. Over time, this ability to observe our feelings without acting on them leads to personal growth, reinforcing our resilience against life's ups and downs. The premeditation of evils. One of the most effective Stoic techniques for dealing with emotional responses is the practice known as premeditation of evils, premeditatio malorum. This contemplative exercise involves thinking through potential challenges, misfortunes, or losses that could arise in the future. It might sound grim at first, but its purpose is to prepare your mind and emotions for possible adversity. Imagine you're anticipating a major presentation at work. Instead of simply hoping for the best and dodging the thought of failure, take time to visualize various scenarios, including the worst outcomes. Think about what might happen if you forgot your points, if the technology failed, or if your colleagues were dismissive. By acknowledging these possibilities, you're not dwelling negatively. Rather, you're mentally preparing for them. This mental rehearsal serves several purposes. Firstly, it reduces the shock or impact of negative situations when they inevitably occur. If something doesn't go as planned, you might find yourself less emotionally rattled because you've already contemplated the possibility. Secondly, premeditation allows you to identify proactive strategies to mitigate potential pitfalls. For example, if you worry about technology failing, you might prepare a backup plan or practice your speech multiple times. In essence, this Stoic practice encourages a mindset of acceptance and resilience, transforming fear of the unknown into actionable strategies. By embracing the challenges ahead, you empower yourself to face them with strength and composure. Reframing automatic responses. Another key aspect of managing emotions involves reframing automatic responses into constructive thoughts. Cognitive distortions often arise from these initial emotional reactions, but Stoicism provides tools to help us reshape them. It's about taking a step back and re-examining the narrative we tell ourselves in response to an emotion. Consider an example where you receive critical feedback after a project. Your immediate reaction might be to feel overwhelmed, thinking, "I can't believe I messed up. I'm never going to succeed." This is a common cognitive distortion, black and white thinking, where you label your performance in absolute terms. Cooperatively, Stoicism encourages you to reframe that thought. I received feedback, and it provides an opportunity to learn and improve. It doesn't define my abilities or future success. Reframing invites you to look for the silver lining in your emotional experiences. It encourages a more nuanced understanding of the situation instead of jumping to conclusions based on an immediate emotional response. The practice of reframing can become a powerful tool for emotional regulation and can help alleviate unnecessary stress, anxiety, or disappointment. The impact of language on emotional responses. In addition to cognitive reframing, another significant factor in managing emotional responses is the language we use, both in our internal dialogue and our external expressions. The words you choose to describe your feelings can profoundly influence your emotional experience. Say you feel anxious about an upcoming event. If you label that feeling with terms like overwhelming dread, it can intensify the anxiety and create a sense of panic. But if you shift your language to something like a feeling of uncertainty, it normalizes the emotion. Acknowledging that uncertainty is a natural part of life can lessen its sting and empower you to approach the situation with readiness instead of fear. Additionally, be mindful of how you articulate your feelings to others. Instead of saying, "I'm failing at this," try using phrases that emphasize growth, such as, "I'm learning through this process." Language shapes our experiences. As such, being more purposeful about it can significantly impact emotional responses and overall mindset. Through mindfulness of our internal narratives, we not only develop a greater sense of control over our emotions, but also foster an environment that encourages resilience and positivity. The power of rational thinking. When emotions run high, it's easy to forget the role of rational thinking. Stoicism highly emphasizes the power of logical frameworks and reason as tools for steering our emotional responses. Not only can rational thinking help us navigate through turbulent emotions, but it also empowers us to use those emotions to spur growth, learning, and resilience. Cognitive distortions. To master our emotions, we first need to confront cognitive distortions, those sneaky thought patterns that distort our view of reality. Cognitive distortions often stem from irrational beliefs about ourselves and the world around us. By identifying and challenging these distortions, we regain control over our emotional responses and create a more grounded understanding of reality. Let's look at a common cognitive distortion known as catastrophizing. Imagine you have an important meeting and misplace your notes. Your immediate thought may be, "I'm going to fail. Everyone will think I'm incompetent." This thought spirals into an overwhelming sense of anxiety. Instead, take a step back to reevaluate that thinking. Recognize that losing your notes doesn't signify failure. It's a temporary setback. Reflect on the other options available, such as summarizing what you remember or requesting a moment to gather your thoughts. By addressing the distortion, you convert a potentially paralyzing belief into a manageable reality, enabling you to regain agency over your emotions. Challenging false beliefs. Challenging false beliefs is an essential aspect of rational thinking within the Stoic framework. Often, our automatic emotional responses are fueled by skewed perceptions shaped by past experiences, fears, and social conditioning. The Stoics would encourage us to question the assumptions behind our beliefs. For instance, consider a person who fears public speaking. Their belief might be, "If I make a mistake, everyone will judge me." This belief likely has roots in past experiences or societal messaging about perfectionism. However, through Stoic reasoning, one might reframe this fear. Everyone makes mistakes. Mistakes are part of growth, and it doesn't diminish my worth. By refining our beliefs about ourselves and our capabilities, we open the door to rational thinking that supports emotional regulation. This process helps us embrace vulnerabilities as part of the human experience, rather than obstacles to be feared. Virtue as the guiding principle. At the core of Stoic philosophy lies the pursuit of virtue, qualities like wisdom, courage, and justice. When faced with strong emotions, returning to these virtues can serve as a guiding compass for shaping our responses. By embedding our actions and decisions within this framework, we foster a balanced emotional state that aligns with our values. For example, if you're facing disappointment after a rejection, rather than sinking into self-pity, you can choose to examine how you might embody the virtue of courage. Courage in this context could mean accepting the rejection gracefully, learning from the experience, and remaining resilient in your pursuit. This alignment with virtue not only cultivates a sense of internal harmony, but also reinforces our sense of self. When we align our responses with our virtues, we foster a state of emotional stability grounded in purpose, allowing us to navigate life's challenges with greater poise. Engaging with rational thought. Rational thought involves invoking internal dialogue, a technique that encourages us to engage in constructive conversations with ourselves. When faced with challenging emotions, rather than letting those feelings dictate our reactions, we ask, "What is this feeling trying to tell me? How can I respond constructively?" For example, imagine you're feeling overwhelmed by work deadlines. Instead of being consumed by anxiety, engage in rational thought. Why do I feel overwhelmed? What steps can I take to manage my time better? Can I communicate my needs with my team? By consciously engaging with these questions, you carve a path toward a proactive response and diminish the emotional burden. This self-dialogue becomes a practice of reevaluation and problem-solving. It allows us to empower ourselves by taking small, actionable steps toward managing our circumstances. The more we practice engaging with rational thought, the more proficient we become at integrating this approach into our emotional experiences. The Serenity Prayer as a reflection. To sum up the power of rational thinking, we can look at the Serenity Prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. This prayer captures the essence of Stoic thought and highlights our capacity to influence our emotional experiences meaningfully. Whenever we feel overwhelmed by an emotional experience, invoking this prayer reminds us that we do not need to bear the weight of the world on our shoulders. Instead, we can cultivate a sense of peace by recognizing what we genuinely control and what remains outside our influence. This acceptance provides a foundation for more balanced emotional responses. Through the lens of rational thinking, Stoicism offers us various tools to navigate our emotional journeys. By recognizing cognitive distortions, challenging false beliefs, embracing virtue, and practicing rational engagement, we build a more nuanced relationship with our emotions. This empowerment enables us to respond in ways that foster growth, resilience, and genuine connection to ourselves and the world around us. Negative visualization. Negative visualization is a technique used to manage expectations and emotional responses. By contemplating the possibility of loss or failure, we can cultivate gratitude for what we have and prepare ourselves for potential disappointment. This practice does not mean dwelling on the negative, but rather acknowledging the impermanence of life. For example, if you think about a cherished relationship, considering the possibility of loss helps you appreciate its value and prepare emotionally for any changes that may occur. Reframing. Reframing is a cognitive technique central to Stoicism. When faced with an emotional trigger, reframe the situation by viewing it from a broader perspective. For instance, instead of seeing a setback as a failure, view it as a step towards growth and learning. The Serenity Prayer. The Serenity Prayer encapsulates the Stoic philosophy beautifully. It invites individuals to accept what they cannot change what they can, and seek the wisdom to know the difference. By internalizing these principles, one can navigate the emotional landscape with resilience and grace.